Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As y'all can tell by the title in today's video, I'm going to be bringing y'all 7 tips to help you make sure you do not mess up your day 1 build on 2K24. So we're not going to waste any time. All I do ask is that you consider dropping a like, subbing to the channel if you're new. It doesn't cost you a cent, but it does help a fellow bro out a ton. But yeah, we're just going to get right into it. The first tip I have for you guys when making your builds is to be generous with the shooting. Now that obviously looks different for different people depending on your playstyle, what types of shots you take, but you never know how a 2K is going to feel as far as shooting goes. As we all know, in 2K24, the shooting system is completely reworked. I feel like it's going to be easier to shoot wide open, but you also never know. The attribute requirements for a lot of badges have gone way up, so that can mean your attributes matter a lot more. And also, builds that can shoot the ball really well are viable all year. And I'm going to be the only one to tell you this, but nobody's day 1 build is going to be perfect. Nobody's day 1 build is going to be the absolute best that it can be because we don't know how the game plays. Your build might be good enough to play with it all year and it might be super good all year, but there is always going to be a better version of it. But if at the very least you make it so your build can shoot the ball really well, then you just have a sharpshooter all year and you didn't totally waste $150 on a build. Even if the rest of your build is not that good, you can always make a shooting build work. Now the second tip I have for you guys is if you're planning on making a small guard, do not try to make him a lockdown defender. With how expensive attributes are looking this year, defense is not going to be worth it on 99% of small guard builds. Even if you put up your defensive stats to 85s, you're still going to be a mediocre defender at best. If you want to make a point guard that has defense on it, I would recommend going 6'6". But if your build is going to be under 6'4", you're probably too small and don't weigh enough for your defensive attributes to even matter. The third tip I got for y'all is no matter what build you're making, do not neglect your pass accuracy. Mike Wang already said that the effectiveness of your pass accuracy rating is going to be very similar to 2K23. And on top of that, now all bad catch animations are because of low pass accuracy. So obviously if you're a point guard, you're going to need pass accuracy, but big men who are trying to throw outlet passes or even just wings who are trying to make, simple skip passes or just swing the ball around the half court, I would recommend at least bringing your pass accuracy up to whatever rating worked for you in 2K23. For me, it was an 80 on my point guard, a 75 on my big man. Don't take my word on the big man though, I'm terrible. Now tip number 4 is to make sure you're hitting all the attribute and height requirements for the things you want. As we all know, a lot of the badges have 2 or 3 attribute requirements and a height limit. Now you can see in the builder whether or not the attributes you have put in allows you to unlock a certain badge or a certain badge level. So as long as you don't put your attributes in to meet a certain badge requirement and then tweak them later without double checking whether or not you lost that badge level, you should be fine as far as badges go. That's not the hard part. The hard part is making sure your attributes unlock the animations you want. As far as dribble animations go, Mike Wang already told us that a 95 ball handle unlocks every dribble animation in the game. But if you're going with less than a 95 ball handle, you might want to hit finish on your build and then go into the animation store and double check to see if your build meets the requirements for the animations you want. And this doesn't just apply to dribble moves either. You got to make sure your layup and dunk ratings are right. I'll put the requirements for the different tiers of contact dunks on the screen here in a second, but first I need you guys to remember, this also applies to defense too. Allegedly, there's going to be different defensive stance styles, and some of them might look cooler, be more effective than others. So you're going to want to make sure if you want those, your defensive ratings are high enough. Like I said, you might have to hit finish on your build, go in and double check, and then if it's not good, delete the build, remake it, but just, bump the attributes up a little bit. Same thing goes for layup animations and pass styles. Make sure you hit finish on your build, go in there and look at the animation store before you put any VC into your build. Now here are the attribute requirements for the different tiers of contact dunk animations. And then there is one more contact dunk animation that can only be unlocked if you're 6'4" and under. It requires a 93 driving dunk and an 85 vertical. So like I said, just make sure you know what attributes you need to unlock what. As y'all know, badges and animations can literally make or break your build, so you don't want to screw that up. Now this next tip number 5, is basically on the contrary to tip number 4. Make sure you're not putting extra attributes where you don't need them. Now this one might sound like a no-brainer, but let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. If you're only going for like the tier 1 contact dunk animations, which like I said, requires 86 driving dunk and a 75 vertical, don't upgrade your vertical any higher than 75 for any reason. It's not going to make your build way more athletic or anything. You won't even notice a difference unless you put it up like 10 attribute points, which if you're going to do that, you might as well put your driving dunk up to a 93. Trust me, putting 2 or 3 extra vertical points on your build is not going to make it any better than anybody else's. In fact, it's probably going to make it worse because it's, attributes are expensive. Same goes for putting strength on a little guard. Any YouTuber that tells you to put strength on like a 6'2" point guard, click off their video, bro. They're scamming you. They're trying to trick you into thinking that they got some secret sauce that's, some revolutionary build that nobody's going to take a chance on. No, bro, it's not like that. If you're in the builder and you get your build up to a 98 and the only things left you can upgrade are your free throw and your strength, and you want to put those last 2 attribute points on strength so that you might have a tiny edge over the other guards that just have it at a 25, go ahead. I probably wouldn't do that because it probably won't even give you an edge. I would just put them on free throw. But like I said, strength on a little guard, bro, it doesn't make sense. It never will. It's not going to do anything for you. And this, what I'm saying, applies to every attribute. There's no reason, if you're unlocking all the badges you want with, like, say, a 92 three-pointer, don't take it up to a 93. There's no reason. You're just wasting an expensive attribute point that could really be 4 or 5 extra attribute points on a weaker part of your build. And it will make literally zero difference, because if you can't get an extra badge or an extra badge level going from a 92 three-pointer to a 93, you will not notice any difference between those ratings whatsoever. Now, this next tip is a big one. Tip number 6, do not be afraid to tweak your favorite YouTuber's build. You might have a different playstyle than whoever made the build video that you're watching. Now, make sure if you're going to tweak their build, you do it intentionally so you're not forgetting tip number 4 and tip number 5. They probably have all their attributes set to unlock certain badges and animations, so make sure if you're going to knock down the driving dunk, say for example, knock it down all the way to the next tier so that you can have as many attribute points as possible to upgrade other parts of the build. Don't just tweak their attributes for the sake of trying to make your own unique build. It's like I said earlier, badges and animations are the difference makers. You will never notice a 1 attribute difference in ratings unless that 1 attribute unlocks a next level badge or animation. And to go along with this tip, if you're not planning on making your own build entirely on your own, and if you're planning on looking at any YouTubers at all, you might as well look at a few of them. As y'all know, I'm bringing you a 6'2" point guard and a 6'6" point guard tomorrow. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go watch a few other YouTubers build videos. That way you can choose the one you like, the one that fits your playstyle, or maybe you can combine them and meet in the middle a little bit. For example, obviously I'm a huge rec player. I'm going to be playing a lot of that new starting 5 game mode. So when I get to a 98 overall and I just have a few, inexpensive attribute points left, I'm going to probably put them on free throw. But maybe you're watching my build video because you like my playstyle and you want to replicate it in, mainly park. Then maybe instead of putting those extra inexpensive attribute points on free throw like I did, you put them on your close shot or a little bit extra strength or, maybe your stamina. The point is, yes, there are some trash builds. Yes, there are some very good builds. But just because a build is better for one person does not mean it is better for another. But only you know exactly how you play. So I would encourage you to look at a few different YouTubers' builds. And if you want to copy them exactly, do so. But if necessary, tweak them a little bit to fit your playstyle better. I consider myself a very good shooter. I shot like 65% from 3 pretty much all year at 2K23. And y'all know I was shooting some pretty crazy shots. Deep threes, sidestep threes, the Allen Iverson spin back threes. So because I feel like I'm a pretty good shooter, I'm probably going to put a little bit lower three-pointer, like maybe a low 80, mid 80 three-pointer on my 6'6" point guard. For you guys, you might not be as comfortable. Maybe you need to put up to an 88. Maybe you need to put it up to a 92. Or maybe you're even a better shooter than I am and you feel like you can go down to a 78. That way you can use those extra attributes in other parts of your build. But anyways, y'all get what I'm saying. On to tip number 7. Now, as far as I know, you won't actually do this part in the builder, but make sure you get your floor setters right. You get 9 silver, 9 gold, and you can't change them after you set them. So make sure you put them in the right spots. If you're someone who handles the ball and dribbles a lot and your build can unlock, say, Hall of Fame handles for days, there is no reason to put a silver or gold floor setter on it because you're using it all the time, so you're probably never going to lose it. But say, for example, your build unlocks silver floater specialist, but you don't take a lot of floaters. You just want to be able to do them when necessary or just try them out sometime. Then by all means, put a floor setter on it because you might go 10 or 15 games without even attempting a floater, but you still want it to be effective when you do decide you need to go to it. A lot of people are very confused about where they should put their floor setters. They think they should put them on all their favorite badges. Like, no, bro, put them on the badges that you want to use, but you may lose. If one of your so-called favorite badges is something that you're struggling to keep and you're not using it very often, it's probably not one of your favorite badges. The unfortunate part is, like I said, you can't change your floor setters once you already put them in place. The good news though is that the level 40 season 1 reward on next gen is a gold floor setter. And I'm assuming this won't be the only season where you can unlock an extra floor setter. So if you end up making a mistake and putting one of your floor setters on a badge that you don't really need it on, a badge that you're using all the time so you'd never lose anyways, the good news is if you just grind to level 40, you can get a replacement. Another thing to keep in mind when you're choosing your floor setters is, do you play with a set of teammates or do you play a lot of times with randoms? Obviously, if you play with set teammates more often than not, you'll be able to get a little bit more crazy with where you want to put your floor setter badges because you won't have to protect really any of your favorite badges because you can just tell your friends like, hey, I'm about to lose this badge. Can I see the rock so I can get busy really quick? If you play with randoms, you might need to adjust your playstyle for a couple games here and there. And if you know you're going to be playing with randoms a lot, then maybe you bring your floor setters a little closer to home. Maybe protect the badges that you use, maybe every other game. For a lot of y'all though, you might be like me where you play with randoms, but you feel like you're a pretty good player. So anytime you get the ball, you feel like you're going to capitalize on those opportunities. So you really shouldn't be losing badges like that. But yeah, that's really all I got for tips. I should have mentioned earlier in this video, all this I'm talking about applies to next gen, not prehistoric gen. So just remember y'all, no day one build is perfect. It can always be a little bit better, but you won't know how to make it better until you played the game for a couple months. But if you just follow these tips, I promise you, you will put together a build that is usable all year and not a complete waste of your money. Like I said though, if you want to keep it really simple, just watch my 2 build videos tomorrow if you're interested in a 6'2 or a 6'6 point guard. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up for the video, y'all. I thank y'all so much for watching. God bless, and I will catch you in the next one.